Good morning. My name is Brittain. I'm a caregiver for my mom, Sarah, here. She's 80 years old. I'm just one of them. Everybody in my family, my wife, my children, my brother, we've all taken our turns. But anyway, my mom's story with Alzheimer's, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 5 years ago. Just happened to coincide when I retired, so I was able to be her caretaker, taking care of her for 5 years. But it actually started back maybe about 12 years ago. About 12 years ago, my mom, I was working nights, so I'd go, she calls me and said, hey, my primary doctor would like a family member to come to the appointment they want to talk to. Okay, fine. At that time, my mom was living on her own. We're a pretty tight-knit family, so, we usually go. So I go to the appointment, and her primary says, yeah, your mom is starting to show some signs of cognitive decline. Minor cognitive decline, I don't know if you've noticed anything. I said, well, some things, but she lives on her own, so not as much. She says, yeah, your mom's forgetting to take her medicines sometimes, not all the time, just periodically she's missing her medicines. She's complaining about sometimes she gets this Walmart, goes there with the intention of buying something, forgets what to buy, and gets a little confused, and then comes home with a bunch of stuff. And I said, well, that kind of makes sense because she's got like 15 underarm deodorants and 10 mouthwashes because when she got to the store, she kind of forgot what she needed, so she just started buying some stuff. So they said, it's probably better that she lives with somebody. She had a caretaker at the time. It wasn't a family member. She was living in a senior independent living place. She had a caretaker. She had a caretaker who was with her for 3-4 hours a day. But the doctor said it'd probably be better that she move in with somebody because it's going to progressively get worse. We can't tell you if it's going to be quick or long. Everybody's different. Like I said, that was 12 years ago. So my mother moved in with us, and my wife became a caretaker first, and one of my daughters when she was in college, then another daughter, and my brother, and now it's following on me. But during that time, in 10, 12 years, we did notice some things. We noticed that she was an avid reader and loved to play Scrabble and do a lot of stuff. And slowly, for us, it might be different than other folks. It was a very gradual decline. She started not reading as much. I mean, she'd go through a book this big in a day. She'd just tons of books. It might take her a week or a month to finish a book. She started struggling a little bit with words. I mean, she was like the queen of Scrabble. Tell you that's not a word. Make these 7-letter words all the time. Big words. Knew all the meanings of them. Just some small stuff. We started to notice. During that time that she was living with us, I went with her to all her appointments. If I couldn't go, one of my daughters or my wife would go. And we would record. If I wasn't there, they would record the doctor's appointment because she would kind of forget. I'm not sure if you know that or notice that in your family members, but they come from the doctor's appointment. They might not remember everything or might forget the important stuff. So, my kids are pretty diligent about, using a voice recorder. We record everything. Well, in that time, like I said, we noticed some of the things, and some of the doctors she had, and with all respect, Dr. Brittain is her neurologist. He's an excellent doctor. We're very fortunate to have him. But I noticed, I thought she was on a lot of medicines. We'd find a new provider, you go in for where they take your blood pressure and weight, and the young ladies in there would see the list of medicines my mom would have in the house because they got to input them in the computer. And, I kind of started feeling that, the doctors that she had, she had switched. She'd had some very good doctors. And, doctors are just like everybody, people. I'm a retired policeman. Some policemen are good, some are not. Obviously, some doctors are better than others. So I just started to see that some of her doctors, and one in particular was her neurologist, and one was her primary. That it was just like going in and they just sign off, oh, everything okay, here's your prescription, and let's go. I wasn't too comfortable with that, so I did like what most people do nowadays. I get out my phone. Well, first I called her insurance and said, can you send me a list or a booklet of all the doctors that are in network? Then when I got that, I go pull out my phone, Google all the doctors and start seeing who had the better stars and the better reviews. And thank God that by doing that, I was able to come across the UT Health in San Antonio. I'm from San Antonio. We're in San Antonio. And they have excellent doctors. I've read the reviews. I saw they're all like 4 stars. So I told my mom, hey, I'm switching you. It's going to be a little change. She wasn't always in the change, but she was fine. I told her it looks like the doctor's going to be better. As soon as we got her into the UT Health, we're fortunate. The UT Health in San Antonio, I can talk about them all day. We got the primary geriatric specialist. He's like, demasiado medicina. There's too many medicines. Let's see what we can do. So he says, yep, I'm going to refer you out to the neurologist that we have. They referred us out to a neurologist. Dr. Skeen's one of her last ones, but they're all very good. My mom was developing shape from some of the medicines. They didn't know she was getting Parkinson's. As they talk about dementia, there's different types. Lewy body, some that exhibit signs like Parkinsonian, So they're trying to figure out what type of Alzheimer's. It could be vascular. She had some problems with her veins. She had a stroke. They really didn't know what type, but she had some form of dementia. So anyway, went to the doctors, boom, they're like, yeah, we're gonna try to get rid of some of these medicines. Actually, her story even goes back further. About 50 years ago, when I was a young child, she fell down a flight of stairs, got traumatic brain injury, or TBI, and they thought she was epileptic. And she's been on these very powerful medicines for like 40, 50 years. Well, within months of going to UT, the doctors were like, the neurologist, one of them was like, I don't think she has epilepsy. We're gonna do a 5-day study, she'll stay in the hospital, you can stay with her. Within 2 days, they're like, she's not epileptic, and they took her off about 4 very powerful medicines, which could have caused the early onset of Alzheimer's for her. But anyway, they did an excellent job. I praise them, it's been a blessing every day. I say this, I'm going to take up most of my time with that is because I don't think you should be afraid to, as Hispanics, I was raised, don't question the police, don't talk back to your teachers, the doctors, be very respectful to all these people. And I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying don't be afraid to question anything. If you don't think something's right, do your research. That's what this is all here about. Research it. If you don't like the doctor, you think they're just shuffling you through. And that's how a lot of these practices are, not all of them. They just say 10, 15 patients, an hour as much as we can. You sit in a waiting room for 3 hours and you get seen for 5 minutes. I would tell you to look around. Don't be afraid of Google. Don't be afraid of word of mouth. I don't have Facebook. My mom does, and we're always UT Health on Facebook. And the Alzheimer's program. Every time we do anything with Alzheimer's. Well, back to the UT Health, within months of being there, and seeing the new neurologist, all of a sudden, I got this lady calling me on the phone. I'm a community service health, some kind of community person. We're just checking in with you. They check in with us every month. I'm getting a call from some, actually, I met Sarah years ago. I didn't remember because I didn't meet her in person until more recently, but they were calling me basically every month. How's everything going? Anything we can do for you? Anything we can offer you? And they'd offered some other services because in San Antonio they have many services, Alzheimer's related, that we take part of now. It keeps my mom very socially active. They have a lot of it. So I would really impress upon you to look into the material that's here. I hear that Laredo, Joe was saying that the services weren't as great. They're trying to come back. Don't be afraid to drive to San Antonio. It might be worth the drive. I tell you this. My mom takes part, and we go to the museum with the Alzheimer's group. It's a narrated little deal. Then they do a function. We go to botanical gardens. I'm not sure if you're aware of what that is, but it's a big, huge garden. It's beautiful. Acres of plants and trees and everything. We're part of a group that planted plants and vegetables and stuff, and it was an 8-week program. We're currently part of another program that's through the UT and Caring for the Caregivers and WellMed. That's Tai Chi. We're trying to do Tai Chi. Whatever I can get my mom involved in to keep her out there, because she has become a little bit social, not withdrawn, but not as responsive. She used to be very communicative, and she talks a little less. I have to prompt her during our conversations, even with family members. But these things, she really enjoys it. She's made, some of her complaints was, I've lost some of my friends, but she's making a lot of new friends. She gets there, she gets all excited. She gets excited when she sees the ladies and Louis here and Joe. She looks forward to seeing them in person. We see them every month on Zoom. But we're very fortunate. We're from an urban area. We're very lucky. But that doesn't mean that. It's a 2-hour drive. I would tell you to consider it, or just Google and look, and word of mouth. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's been a slow process for us. Like I said, it's different for everybody. My grandfather, her father had it, and it was very quick. He went in a nursing home for a broken hip, and just that time in the nursing home, within a couple of months, dementia, now that we know, had started a little sooner, but just him being in that nursing home, it was a very quick decline. So my mom has been, I guess about 13 years we've been dealing with a little bit of cognitive decline, but it's been very slow, thank God. I would just tell you to try to keep us busy. We walk about a mile or two every day.
Wow.
She's my sidekick, I'm retired. She goes, everywhere I go, she goes. I get a 2-hour break, I go to the gym, and that's good. I mean, as a caregiver, you're gonna need a break. But going to the grocery store and going to Tai Chi and going to the museum, that's a break for the caregiver as well, as the person suffering from Alzheimer's. And to see their faces light up when they see each other and when she sees the people, it's well worth it. I would just tell you to look for what you can. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Become as involved as you possibly can. I understand what Joe's talking about because I have relatives in Uvalde. There's virtually no resources. I have a cousin, he's male like me, taking care of 2 parents, one in a wheelchair and one not. And they're 90-something years old and dementia. And I mean, he's like pulling out his hair. We talk to him every day. We're try to offer support. But for him, it's very difficult to make the 90-mile trip to San Antonio. He's got to load up. His mom was in a wheelchair and his dad. So just keep in mind, there's some positive things out there. I mean, it is difficult. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but I think that if you can find an outlet for yourself and the person you're taking care of, it makes it much easier. And like you said about Hispanics, we do care for each other a lot. I'm lucky enough to have a house full of kids. I'm Hispanic, I got kids, and a brother. But most of our family's up north, so I really depend on my wife and my children here. But I'm very grateful for Sarah, for everybody here, the community health workers, for Sarah, for Dr. Liskeen. I feel like we've been blessed, and I can talk about UT Health all the time. And I hope you guys are able to find a doctor and people that can offer you the resources that we're lucky enough to receive. And hopefully you'll take advantage of them. All right, thank you.
Thank